All right, today we're jumping into a pretty wild medical detective story. The villain is a microscopic superbug. The hero is a pretty radical treatment. And the cure, well, the cure is hiding in probably the last place you'd ever think to look.
So, let's start with a question. How in the world do you fight a bug that actually gets stronger the more you try to kill it? That's the huge puzzle we're digging into today. And believe me, the answer is a total game changer.
Okay, first up, let's meet the villain of our story. Its official name is Clostridioides difficile, but everyone just calls it CDiff. And let me tell you, the CDC doesn't mess around. They've officially labeled this thing an urgent threat.
So what makes C. diff so nasty? Well, it's a toxin-producing bacterium. This means it doesn't just hang out. It actively releases poisons that can cause everything from really severe diarrhea to life-threatening sepsis. It's bad news. And we're not talking about a rare problem here. Look at this number. The CDC says C. diff is responsible for nearly 13,000 deaths in the US every single year. That's why it gets that scary urgent threat label. It's a huge public health crisis. Okay, so you've got this nasty bug. The obvious first move is antibiotics, right? That's what we do. But here's where our story takes a crazy turn. The very thing we use to kill C. diff can actually pave the way for it to come roaring back even stronger than before.
Let's break down this just incredibly frustrating cycle. A patient gets sick, they take antibiotics, and the drugs work. They kill the active C. diff. But here's the problem. Antibiotics are kind of like a nuke for your gut. They don't just take out the bad guys, they wipe out all the good bacteria too. And that leaves this barren landscape where any C. diff spores that survived can now regrow with absolutely zero competition. And boom, you've got a relapse.
And this cycle, it just gets worse and worse. This quote from the research we're looking at is, well, it's pretty chilling. It shows that people get trapped. After you've had C. diff twice, your risk of getting it again skyrockets to over 60%. It is a truly vicious cycle. So if the whole search and destroy mission with antibiotics is backfiring, what else is there? This is where medical science had to get really creative. Instead of just trying to kill the bad guys, what if you focused on rebuilding the good guys? What if you could just reboot the entire system? And that brings us to the hero of our story. And it's a pretty unconventional one. Fecal Microbiota Transplantation, or FMT for short. Yeah, the name sounds weird, I know, but the science behind it is actually beautiful. The whole idea is to completely restore a healthy gut by putting a thriving, healthy community of microbes from a donor right where they need to be.
The best way to think about it is like this. Imagine your gut is a garden. C. diff is like this horrible invasive weed that's taken over. Antibiotics are like a harsh chemical that kills the weeds, sure, but it also scorches the earth and kills all your flowers and plants. FMT is totally different. It's like replanting the entire garden with lush, healthy plants, leaving absolutely no room for those weeds to ever grow back.
Okay, that's a great analogy, a really cool theory, but does it actually work, right? This is where we get to the good part. The numbers from a huge study that really put this to the test. So the proof comes from this massive study. Researchers analyzed the insurance claims for more than 38,000 C. diff patients. I mean, this isn't some tiny lab experiment. This is a powerful look at what's really happening with real people out in the real world. And wow, this slide right here, it really says it all. Just look at this. With standard antibiotics, the infection came back 36% of the time. 36%. Now look at the patients who got an FMT. Their recurrence rate, just 9.8%. The difference is it's staggering. Let me just flip that around for you. A 9.8% recurrence rate means you've got a, wait for it, 90.2% success rate at preventing C. diff from coming back. That is just incredible. This proves that replanting the garden isn't just a nice idea. It works. It really works. Okay, but let's be real. No medical procedure is 100% risk-free, and it's super important we look at the whole picture here. So the researchers were careful to not just track success, but also any complications that happened after the procedure.
So what did they find? Well, the most common side effects were things like, some belly pain, feeling tired, a little bit of nausea. But the key thing is the study noted these were generally mild and just went away on their own.
But what about the really serious stuff, right? Like getting another infection? Well, they did find a tiny number of sepsis cases within a month of the FMT. But look at that rate, 0.49%. not even half of 1%. That really puts into perspective how rare a serious complication is.
So what's the bottom line here? When you put that incredible 90% success rate up against a really low risk of serious problems, the conclusion is pretty clear. The data just strongly supports FMT as a super effective and generally very safe way to finally break the cycle of this horrible superbug. And that leaves us with this one huge, exciting question. We've just seen that we can beat a nasty superbug by literally rebooting an entire ecosystem inside our own bodies. So what else can we do with this? What other chronic diseases, maybe stuff like inflammatory bowel disease or even metabolic disorders, could this completely change how we treat in the future? It really feels like the story of the microbiome is just getting started.